Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time and place you are joining me on the planet. My name is June Allen and I am the founder of the Yard of Greatness. I teach black women how to heal from the impact of racism with racial sobriety, racial wellness and sacred self-love. So I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all having a really good day so far. So I wanted to jump on today and talk about forgiveness and acceptance. Okay, forgiveness versus acceptance. So I've got a really beautiful story to share, and I hope that it will give you some peace and some clarity for any of you out there that are struggling with forgiveness and acceptance around certain people. I've got a really beautiful story to share and a few tools and stuff for you to think about. But before I get into that, I'm going to share some housekeeping. Okay, so the first thing is the Living in Love program, the Sacred Sister Circle, the mastermind that I am currently doing is up and running. It's live, and we had our first session last week, and I'll be talking a bit more about that actually as I go through the content. But so that is now live, and we had our first session last week, and it was a really intimate space, and we talked a lot about different types of love. We talked about just more of an introduction actually around love. It was good to kind of get back on the horse, as it were, since we did the last session around the other of Bell Hooks' book. So what we're doing is we are studying this book, Bell Hooks, all about love. Okay, new visions. And she talks about all different types of love in there. She talks about spiritual love, self-love, romantic love, love for self, love for culture, all different things. So we take in one chapter a month, and what I do is I break the chapter down and we talk about it, we discuss it. I create heartwork journal prompts so that you can really begin to explore and understand how the text relates to your life. And there's tools and stuff as well for you to be able to practice and manifest more love in your life. So it's going to be a really slow, gentle, nourishing process, and I'm really enjoying it so far. So if you're interested in joining us, I still do have a January early bird. You've only got another 10 days left before it runs out, so you can get in to join us with the Living in Love program. If you click the link in the bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. So the next Sister Circle session is next Wednesday. But if you join now, then obviously you'll get there's a PDF that's got all of the details and everything from the stuff that we discussed last week. So don't worry too much if you didn't miss like loads and loads and loads last week, because obviously I've put it all in the PDF, so you'll have an opportunity to catch up and to get the journal prompts and everything from the last session. So get yourself a copy of the book, and if you are interested in joining us for the circle, then please do that. Hi, thanks for joining, Emily. So that's that. Next session is next week. The other thing that I wanted to share is you need to save the date, because Ghana is coming. I had an amazing session with Faith Agugu, my beautiful business partner in crime, and we had a really good session last night and just talked about what we're going to be doing. We're going to be launching the Ghana retreat in October. So you need to save the date. It's October the 11th to the 17th. Just stay tuned. We've got so many wonderful things in planning for you. So if you're interested in joining us for the Ghana retreat, then stay close to the page, obviously, and there'll be more updates and stuff like that around what's going to be happening with that. Okay, the last thing that I will share as part of housekeeping is that the Simple Self-Love bundle is also part of January's deals. So basically there's 101 tools in there for how to love yourself really simply and easy. So if you want some low cost, low time, culturally appropriate, nourishing tools to love yourself, then you can click the link in the bio and get the self-love bundle, the Simple Self-Love bundle. It's only £7 as opposed to £19. Okay, and that's only going to be on again for the next 10 days. At the end of the month, I'll it's going to go back to its normal price. So so click the link in the bio if you're interested in that. So I have 3 requests. Okay, 3 requests on this broadcast. If you think that there is somebody who needs to learn more or wants to understand more about forgiveness and acceptance, then share it with them, tag them. If you have any questions about anything that I'm going to share in this broadcast, again, you can drop them in the comments below. And the last thing that I will say is that these live streams should not be a substitute for seeing a licensed mental health professional. So make sure that you see a therapist if you need to. Okay, so for those of you that have just joined, my name is June Allen from juneallen.net, and I am the founder of The Art of Greatness, and I teach Black women how to heal from the impact of racism with racial wellness and sacred self-love. So what is racial wellness? What is racial wellness? I'm just going to give you a tiny little bit of a background about myself. So I came into doing this work. Hi, thanks for joining. I came in to do this work. I started doing this work in 2009 off the back of a really dysfunctional, painful relationship. I realized that I was addicted to dysfunctional relationships, abusive relationships, and I needed to find out what was going on with me. Why was my picker so off? Because I kept picking people that weren't emotionally available, and that just didn't, the relationships were just very toxic. So I went into 12-step recovery for addictive relationships, and it was an amazing experience. I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about people. I learned so much about the dysfunction that was going on within me, within my family, and all the rest of it. But there was no cultural context to it. There was no language or process for me to deal with any of that stuff as a Black woman. So, I just began reading a lot more stuff. And I started training as a psychotherapist, and I just started joining all the dots together. And it's just been a really amazing experience. I've been so grateful to be able to now be in a position where I teach, and I share my experience, I share my tools, I share, all the stuff that I've learned in psychotherapy, which I've been able to translate into a way that helps to support those of us that are still struggling under the system of racism, whether it's, external stuff that we're having to deal with, or whether it's recycled, internalized racism within our families, or whether it's stuff that's within ourselves. Hi, Charmaine, thanks for joining. So it's really important. It was really important for me to do this work. And the more I kind of went through my own process, I just started sharing a lot more with other people. So about 3-4 years ago, I decided that I wanted to share a lot more publicly with other people, because people that I was working with privately were getting so much out of what I was doing. So I just decided to share a lot more. So it's been a really great experience. So that's a little bit about my journey, if you don't know about my journey. So today's topic is all about forgiveness versus acceptance, okay? Forgiveness versus acceptance. So for those of you that may be struggling with forgiveness, I'm going to share a really beautiful story with you, and I'm hoping that this is going to help any of you that are struggling with it. Okay, so what I will say first and foremost is that forgiveness is something that I don't always share about, because it's such a loaded conversation first and foremost. And I think the reason why it's so loaded is because forgiveness is something that has been used to abuse. Forgiveness has been something that's been used to abuse. Okay, it's been used to abuse. White supremacy have used forgiveness as a way for us to minimize our pain, and we're not allowed to have you need to forgive that person, and we've done it to each other as well. We're so quick to tell people or to tell ourselves that we have to forgive the other person, that we don't really give ourselves permission to fully experience what's happened to us and to heal the hurt that's been happened. We jump to forgiveness so quickly that we still have that resentment, we still have that upset that's going on inside. So I think that it is important to and I'm hoping that this what I'm going to share with you today is going to help you to kind of get a bit more of a breakdown as to what's happening there, because I think that a lot of us don't really understand forgiveness, because it has been used as something to abuse. It's been used as something to abuse. Sometimes we'll use it to minimize our own experience, or minimize somebody else's experience as well. We tell other people that you need to forgive that person, you need to let it go, and you need to forgive that other person, and again, that creates a situation where we can't, we're confused about our own, we minimize our own experience. We minimize our own experience. And sometimes what happens is we end up putting up with abuse and dysfunction from other people because we tell ourselves and we convince ourselves that, oh, well, I have to forgive that person, so therefore, I'm not allowed to have my own feelings about it. And, I care about that other person. So even though that other person keeps abusing me, I'm just going to keep forgiving them because, that's the right thing to do. Okay. And, and it just makes it really complicated. It makes it really complicated. And we end up in this cycle of, codependent, and I like to call this kumbaya forgiveness. That's what I like to call kumbaya forgiveness, where you haven't really acknowledged your own hurt and your own pain underneath it all, and you jump to forgiveness so quickly that you end up abandoning yourself in this whole process, which is not fair to you, and it's not respectful. That's not how you practice self-respect. Self-respect means you have to honor the impact of what these things have done for us. So I just want to share this story that happened to me recently. So I had a situation recently where somebody that I'm quite close to, that I love dearly, and if she's watching, she's gonna be smiling when I share this story. But somebody that was really close to me, that I love dearly, she crossed a boundary. Okay, she crossed a boundary, and I was a bit upset about it because it's something that we'd kind of shared about some stuff before she crossed this boundary, and so I was quite surprised that she crossed it, because I knew, it was kind of linked to some stuff that I'd already been sharing with her. So I knew I was a bit upset about it and stuff. I didn't share my upset with her initially because I just needed some time to kind of calm down and think about it and all the rest of it. But I was initially quite upset. But I did have a scheduled appointment with this person. So, so I thought, you know what, I'll just give myself a moment to kind of calm down, and then I'll allow myself to, I'll talk to this person, when we have this appointment. So anyway, before I'd even had the chance to kind of blink, this person had sent me a message holding a hand up, just saying, look, I know I've done this thing. I know I've crossed the boundary, and, I'm just holding my hands up to this thing that I've done. And, we can talk about it more later. And just in getting that message, the initial relief that I felt, because that person had first and foremost taken responsibility for what they'd done wrong. Okay. And, I knew, because of the relationship that I have with this person, I have a really good relationship with this person. And I knew that forgiveness was going to be something that was going to be easy for me, because I know that I trust this person. I love this person dearly. I've got mad love for this person. She knows I've got mad love for her. And I just knew it was going to be easy because I know who she is. I know who she is, this person. And I think it's really difficult sometimes to forgive somebody else when that person is not open to understanding or even accepting their dysfunctional behaviour or their bad behaviour. It's difficult to do that. And I knew with this person that forgiveness was going to be easy because there was trust there. There was trust. And the fact that I got an immediate email, a message from this person saying, I'm holding my hands up, saying we'll talk about it later, it just made it so much more easier I knew it was going to be easier to have a conversation because I knew that I was going to be heard. I knew that I was going to be heard. And I was able to also see the humanity in this person, because obviously we're all human and we make mistakes. But in holding the hands up to say, look, I've made a mistake with this thing and we'll talk about it later, I was able to, understand that, yes, she's human, and I knew it was going to be good. Now, the conversation itself that we ended up having, was so beautiful because I felt heard. I felt understood. I didn't have to, there was no big drama or anything like that. But this person was able to hear my upset, even though, I wasn't upset in the call. I'd kind of, I'd kind of worked it through in my journal and stuff before I'd even spoken to this person. But getting the email and stuff, getting the message from them was really powerful, because then I immediately felt heard. And I trusted this person. And what was also beautiful was this person was really sincere about changing their behaviour. This person was really sincere about changing their behaviour. And so what happened was, in the face of conflict, in the face of something that was initially quite painful, where somebody had crossed the boundary, was actually an opportunity for a deeper level of intimacy, because there was trust there, and because we were able to have an honest, healthy conversation about what happened. First and foremost, we talked about the impact of what happened, and then we talked about, you know, what could happen to kind of to resolve the situation. That was that, you know, that was what was so beautiful about the whole thing. And actually, it, in many ways, it kind of it deepened the relationship that I have with this person, because I know now that I can trust this person, that this person is going to hold their hands up if they make a mistake, just like I would hold my hands up if I made a mistake, and we can talk it through. You know, and at the end of the conversation, she was saying to me, like, you know, thank you for being so gracious and all the rest of it. But for me, it was a done deal, because I already love this person, and I know that both of us are going to show up. There was a willingness from both of us to resolve this situation. Okay, there was a clear willingness from both of us to want to resolve this situation, and we were both willing and open to look at, you know, what happened and what we can both do about it to kind of make it better. And it actually opened up the conversation for us to talk about other things, and how we can set some boundaries with each other, and how we can move forward with this, with things in terms of our relationship and stuff like that. And it was just really powerful and just so beautiful. And for me, this was healing for me on so many levels. Number one, because, you know, as black people, as a black woman, there is that whole thing around, you know, black people can't get on together, and black people can't work together, and black people can't love on each other, and, you know, black women are so bitchy with each other. And there's all of these narratives that kind of go on in terms of black women, because a lot of us are dealing with our own hurt. We're dealing with a lot of our own hurt from the past. We're dealing with a lot of hurt from broken relationships with our mothers, with other black women in the community that hadn't necessarily been kind to us. We don't have very good self-esteem, a lot of us, because of the difficult relationships that we've had with our mums and other black women in the community and stuff like that. So that stuff, this was so important to me on so many levels. This was so powerful for me on so many levels, because I was able to experience what true forgiveness and sisterhood and love and making amends really looks like on a practical level. And this is a result of not just the work that I've done in recovery, but also the work that I've done in therapy, understanding that there, you know, I had been in a lot of fear around my relationships with black women for so long. I've been in a lot of fear around my relationships with black women for so long, because I had a painful relationship with my mum. And I still don't really have the relationship that I would love to have with my mum, but that's because, you know, there are limitations in that relationship, and that's kind of, you know, something that I've accepted now. And this is the thing that I wanted to share about in terms of the acceptance thing. Sometimes the thing about forgiveness, and I think this is the thing that people sometimes find really difficult, is that not everybody's going to have the opportunity to have that level of closure around the relationship that you have with somebody else who maybe is not as open to accepting their own behaviour, who's not open to saying that they did something wrong, who's not open to hearing the other person talk about the impact that their behaviour has had on them. That person has to be open and ready and willing to hear the impact of their behaviour, and not everybody is in a position to be able to do that. Not everybody is in a position to be able to hear that. So a lot of times when we try to have conversations with people that have hurt us, they can get defensive, they can minimise, they can be shaming, they can do all of these things to try and shut you down from sharing your experience. And I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot from the women that are in my sister circle, you know. And one of the things that came up last week, which was really, really painful and really quite sad, is that a lot of them, you know, had experiences where, you know, they couldn't define love. They didn't know how to define love for them, because it was so, they'd grown up in an environment where they didn't experience love. They didn't experience what it meant to have people around them that loved them, you know. So in that sense, they don't have an experience of what it means to be heard, what it means to be validated, what it means to have somebody really care for them in the way that they deserve to be cared for. And so in that situation, you know, it was very painful. It's very difficult to kind of, you know, to share and to talk about and to actually hold their hands up and say, look, I don't really know how to love. I don't know how to love because I've got nothing to compare it to. I've got nothing to compare it to. So I don't know what it means to love. I don't know what the definition of love is. Now, one of the things that I shared in the circle last week was the concept of love and defining love in the context of the willingness to prioritize and sort of want to nurture your own or another person's spiritual, physical, emotional and cultural needs, you know. So you look after yourself primarily, but also when you love, you know, it is a verb. So when you love, it's something that you nurture within yourself, and also is something that you can nurture in somebody else. And that could be a love relationship, or it could be a child, or it could be your sisterhood, or it could be, you know, whoever. But when we think about love in that context, you know, you have to really be in a position to be able to define love. And I think so many of us, especially as Black people that have grown up in homes that are still kind of carrying a lot of recycled racism and a lot of pain that's been passed down through the generations, that the whole concept of forgiveness is something that, you know, we can't do. It's not available to us in a lot of ways because the people that hurt us are still not willing to take responsibility for their behavior. So what helped me in this situation is, and this is the component that I feel like is sometimes missing from that forgiveness conversation. And in these difficult situations where you have got people that have been that have behaved to you in an inappropriate way, that are not willing to accept their behavior, the next stage is, for me, wasn't forgiveness of those people, but it was acceptance. Okay, that's a completely different energy, acceptance. Okay, so because for me, forgiveness is almost like, well, how do I forgive that person when I don't trust them? How do I forgive that person and, you know, have some sort of relationship with that person when they can't be trusted, when they keep engaging in this self-destructive behavior that are really hurtful, that I'm not being heard, I'm not being seen, they don't understand what the impact of their behavior. So how can I forgive this person and move on? You know, that was actually quite a difficult thing. But when I brought in the idea of acceptance, that's when I really found a lot of peace. That's when I really found a lot of peace, because acceptance is really about, okay, acceptance looks like being honest with yourself about that person's behavior. Okay, number one, it's being honest with yourself about that person's behavior. Being honest with yourself about the fact that that person is committed to that behavior. If they keep doing it over and over and over again, and they keep saying, sorry, I won't do it again, they keep doing it, that person is not committed to the relationship with you. They're committed to that behavior. That behavior is something that they just can't get out of, and you can't change that behavior. You can't make somebody be or do something that they just don't have the capacity to do. So in accepting that person's behavior, or accepting that person's limitation, not that you want to accept the bad behavior, but accepting that person's limitations means that you have to, it's going to bring peace, because then you have to think about, okay, so what does this mean for my relationship with that person? What does it mean that I'm going to have to do? So there was a couple of things that's important for you to do around acceptance. So acceptance looks like being honest with yourself about how you feel. This person doesn't want to accept the impact of the relationship that you have with them. So therefore, there are going to be feelings that are going to be attached to that. So you might feel angry, you might feel sad, you might feel rage, you might feel shame. But it's about you taking those feelings to a safe space where you can process them, because there is going to be an element of loss around that relationship. It doesn't necessarily, when you talk about grieving and stuff like that, it's not just about when somebody dies. It's about you losing something about that person, or losing that relationship with that person, and you being honest with yourself enough and having acceptance to go, do you know what? This person, for whatever reason, cannot love me or cannot be in this relationship with me in a healthy way. Therefore, I am going to be honest about my feelings, and I am going to have acceptance around the loss of the fact that I can't have a relationship with this person, the loss around the fact that this person wasn't able to parent me appropriately, the loss around the fact that this person wasn't able to show up for me and stand up for me and protect me the way that I needed them to. That's what it means to start being accountable to yourself. Acceptance is also about accountability. It's about you having acceptance around, this person can't be in a relationship with me the way that I need them to be. So therefore, I'm going to have to do X, Y, and Z in order to take care of myself, in order to protect myself, in order to be an environment that is safe and healthy for me. And you need to get the support that you need in order to do that. It's easier said than done, especially when it is family members. But one of the reasons why I'm able to navigate a lot of this stuff and do it in a way where it doesn't impact me, it doesn't floor me the way that it used to, is because I have a recovery fellowship. I have a recovery program. I have fellows that I can talk to. I talk to my therapist about different stuff. I have close friends and stuff now that I talk to a lot of this stuff with. And I've got tools so I can I have a better relationship with myself now. I have more self-esteem. I have more self-esteem now to actually accept that, okay, in order for me to be validated, in order for me to love myself, I'm going to have to put this person down. I'm going to have to put this person aside. I'm going to have to put this person in my outer circle because they're causing too much disruption in my inner circle, in my spirit. And I can't have that. The more self-esteem and stuff that you build, the more self-love that you have for yourself, the less that you will be able to tolerate certain types of behavior. It doesn't mean you don't love the person. It means that you don't love the behavior and you don't have to tolerate it. So having acceptance around the loss, having acceptance around how I felt in certain situations means that, that is my interpretation of forgiveness, is having the acceptance that, that I can't change this person, that I have no control over this person, that I can only control my reaction. I can only control my response to this person's behavior. And I need to take care of myself because this person is continuing to behave in ways that is hurtful and that is upsetting. One of the things that Oprah says about forgiveness, she talks about forgiveness being giving up. It's basically about giving up the fantasy that the past can be any different. Giving up the fantasy that the past can be any different, that you can change the past, that the past can be different. And I would add to that, that forgiveness is also about accepting that you can't change people in the present. You can't change the past, but you also can't change people in the present. And so it's important to have acceptance in order for you to move forward. And acceptance is difficult for people. People find it difficult to go to that place of acceptance because having acceptance around where things are in the now means that you have to be present in the now. And being present in the now also means that you have to be willing to face the pain that comes with acceptance, that comes with letting people go, that comes with accepting that other people aren't going to change and that their behaviour is about them and it's got nothing to do with you. That's one of the good things about it. When you have acceptance around somebody else's behaviour, you can also accept that actually that person's behaviour hasn't got anything to do with me, and actually it's a reflection of how they feel about themselves. If somebody's been really abusive and behaving in a way that's really hurtful to other people, be it yourself or others, it's a reflection of how they feel about themselves. Oh, excuse me. It's a reflection of how they feel about themselves. And so that is a really nice way of, it's a nice way of understanding where you are in terms of your healing process, because you're less wrapped up in trying to get that person to change or trying to get that person to validate you, but you're more focused on how you respond to that person and how that person makes you feel, and how are you going to take care of yourself? How are you going to take care of yourself? And actually, when you do have acceptance around that person, when you do have acceptance around how you feel, that really is an act of self-love. That really is an act of self-love. That is actually the most loving thing that you can do for yourself, and the most loving thing that you can do for the other person is to have that acceptance and actually just let them be. When I got to that place of acceptance around, you know, the limitations around certain family members and all of that kind of stuff, I felt free. I felt free because I no longer continue to torture myself about what they should be doing and how it should look, and they need to say this to me and I can't, you know, I told myself that I couldn't love myself and I couldn't, you know, and for me forgiveness was always about, well, I can only get forgiveness if that person behaves the way I want them to behave. I can only forgive them if they respond a certain way. And you know, there were certain needs and stuff that I wanted from you know, from certain people, and I knew that the acceptance was about accepting that I wasn't going to get those needs met. And actually, the freeing thing as well is understanding that I didn't actually need those needs met by those people. I can get my needs met in other ways, in other healthier ways, from people that actually do want to be around me. There are other ways that you can get your needs met, but I think when it's family, it's painful, and it can become toxic because we have this internal fantasy, this expectation that this is how it's supposed to be. So I'm just going to keep bashing away at these old dysfunctional, sometimes a lot of times abusive relationships within families. I'm going to hammer away at these relationships because that's the way it's supposed to be. And that's how we suffer. We end up suffering because we constantly think that that is the way it should be, and we keep hammering away at it, but actually we end up hurting ourselves. So when we talk about forgiveness, if you're struggling with in any relationships that you're finding it difficult to quote unquote forgive, think about the concept of acceptance. Think about the concept of accepting who that person is that you're struggling to forgive. Think about the whole thing around accepting who you are and what your needs are, and the alignment or the misalignment between those two things. And then think about, when you think about the concept of acceptance, what do you need to do? What do you need to do in order to find peace that doesn't involve the other person behaving a certain way? What do you need to do to find peace? So, you know, and what feelings have you got that are coming up that you need to honor and process? What safe spaces do you have in order to be able to do it? You know, if you're interested in joining the Sacred Sister Circle, the next class is next Wednesday evening, 8 p.m. London time. You can click the link in the bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. If you're looking for, if you're not able to join us for the Sister Circle and you're looking for some low cost, low time tools, there's also a simple self-love bundle that is on offer at the moment until the end of January. It's on offer. You can click the link in the bio and get that also. So that's it. That's the story that I wanted to share. So I really hope that what I've shared today has given you some a bit of relief and some understanding of you know, love as a way of as a form of expansion when we're talking about acceptance, when we include acceptance as part of it. Okay, so if you've got any questions or anything about anything that I've shared, then you can drop them in the comments below. Or if I do understand also that this is a public platform, so if you feel more comfortable, you know, you can send me a direct message and I will answer your question there, or you can email me info@yardofgreatness.com. If you know anybody that's struggling with forgiveness or whatever, and you think they might find this valuable, this broadcast valuable, then please share it with them. Please tag them. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you next time. All right. Take care. Bye bye.